The Galactic Military Academy's observation deck hummed with the usual pre-dawn activity. Commander Vrel of the Corthani Empire adjusted his 12 sensory stalks, each one focused on the human cadet standing at attention before the assessment board. The creature called itself Marcus Webb, and it looked pathetic. Let me understand this correctly, Vrel's translator crackled, his tone dripping with what could only be described as profound skepticism. Your species wishes to join the Stellar Defense Initiative. You, a race that evolved on a death world with no natural armor, no venom sacs, no telepathic combat abilities, and skin so fragile that your own star gives you cancer. Marcus didn't flinch. His brown eyes, set in that bizarre forward-facing configuration, remained locked on Vrel. That's correct, sir. Beside Vrel, General Thask, a Vorian whose crystalline exoskeleton refracted the morning light into dancing patterns across the walls, released what sounded like a grinding laugh. They asked why Earth breeds no warriors. She paused for effect. Tell me, human, where are your warrior castes? Your battleborn? Your genetically superior combat strains? You're looking at one, Marcus replied, his voice carrying an edge that made several translators momentarily glitch. The observation deck fell silent. Then, someone laughed. It was Lieutenant Drex, a Falarian whose species had conquered 16 systems before breakfast became a meal they recognized. His 3 mouths all smiled simultaneously, showing rows of serrated teeth. Oh, this will be entertaining. Vrel's stalks twitched with irritation. Cadet Webb, perhaps you misunderstand the nature of this institution. We train the finest warriors in the galaxy. The Corthani war priests who can disintegrate matter with thought. The Vorian shock troops who survived the Extinction Nebula campaign. The Falarian berserkers who fought the Void Swarm to a standstill. He leaned forward, his bulk casting a shadow over the human. What does your species offer? Marcus's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. Spite, sir. Excuse me. We offer spite, stubbornness, and an unfortunate tendency to solve problems by hitting them repeatedly until they stop being problems. Thask's exoskeleton flickered with colors that translated to pure disbelief. Your world has no predators that could challenge even a Corthani juvenile. Your atmospheric composition would be considered a luxury resort environment. You have no natural weapons whatsoever. Correct again, Marcus said cheerfully. Which is why we invented them. All of them. Every single weapon in your arsenal. We thought of it first. The plasma lance. We called it a flamethrower and used it to clear vegetation. The kinetic accelerator? We strapped it to our fighter craft in the 20th century. The antimatter bomb. We theorized that before we left our own solar system. Drex stopped laughing. His 3 mouths all closed at once. Impossible, Vrel snapped. Your species achieved space travel only 300 cycles ago. You couldn't possibly have developed such technologies. Marcus's smile widened. We developed atomic weapons before we had computers, sir. We split the atom before we invented the microchip. We reached our moon using less computing power than your standard entertainment devices. Why? Because we were terrified of each other. Every human innovation in warfare came from one simple fact. We're really good at trying to kill other humans. The observation deck had gone from humming to deathly quiet. Outside the massive windows, twin suns rose over the Academy's training grounds, where cadets from 40 different species were beginning their morning combat drills. The Thask's colors shifted to something that might have indicated curiosity. You're telling us that humans developed galaxy-class weaponry while still confined to a single planet. We tested our first thermonuclear device with handwritten calculations and slide rules, Marcus confirmed. We weren't sure it wouldn't ignite our entire atmosphere. We did it anyway. That's what humans do. We see a problem, we imagine the worst possible solution, and then we try it just to see what happens. Vrel's stalks were now all pointing directly at Marcus, a sign of complete attention that the human probably didn't recognize. That's not courage. That's insanity. Sir, with all due respect. Marcus's posture shifted slightly, becoming somehow more rigid and more relaxed simultaneously. Those are the same thing where I come from. You want to know why Earth breeds warriors? It's because we don't have a choice. Our planet tried to kill us with ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, and diseases that still haunt our genetic memory. We survived by being too stubborn to die and too curious to stop poking things that probably should be left alone. Lieutenant Drex had moved closer, his combat implants humming with renewed interest. Give me an example. Human. One concrete example of this supposed tenacity. Marcus thought for exactly 2 seconds. We have a saying on Earth. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Then try something else. Then go back to the first thing, because maybe you weren't hitting it hard enough. That's not a saying, Vrel protested, his translator carrying notes of confusion mixed with something that might have been concern. It is now, Marcus replied without missing a beat. But you want a real example? Fine. The Omega Protocol. The 3 officers exchanged glances. Thask's exoskeleton flickered through several colors before settling on amber, which usually indicated she was accessing her neural database. There is no Omega Protocol in any military registry. Exactly. Marcus's expression shifted into something darker. Because it's not a military protocol. It's a human one. When we first made contact with the Galactic Council, your diplomats asked us what our contingency plan was if hostile forces ever invaded Earth. We told them we had protocols ranging from Alpha through Zeta. They seemed satisfied. He paused, and his smile returned, but it wasn't friendly anymore. They never asked what comes after Zeta. Drex's 3 mouths all opened again, but no sound came out. The Omega Protocol, Marcus continued, his voice dropping lower, is what happens when humans decide that if we're going down, we're taking everyone with us. It involves things I probably shouldn't describe in polite company. Let's just say it requires a significant portion of our sun, most of our lunar mining operations, and a complete disregard for the Geneva Conventions, the Hague Accords, and the basic concept of proportional response. Vrel's stalks had started trembling. You can't be serious. No species would actually implement such a thing. We wouldn't want to, Marcus admitted. But we absolutely would if pushed far enough. That's the thing about humans, Commander. We're perfectly pleasant right up until we're not, and the transition happens faster than most species can track. Your Corthani war priests disintegrate matter with thought? Impressive. We figured out how to disintegrate entire star systems with math and enough enriched uranium. Your Vorian shock troops survived the extinction nebula? Remarkable. We survived an ice age wearing animal skins and carrying pointed sticks. Your Falarian berserkers fought the Void Swarm? Legendary. We fought each other for 10,000 years and called it history. Thask had gone completely still, which was the Vorian equivalent of intense concentration. You're saying humans are dangerous because you're self-destructive? No, General. I'm saying humans are dangerous because we're survivors who learn to be self-destructive when necessary. Marcus's posture relaxed slightly. Every species here became warriors because they faced external threats. Humans became warriors because we are the external threat. To ourselves, to our environment, to basic common sense. We looked at nuclear fission and thought, let's make a bomb. We looked at space and thought, let's go there in a tin can with less shielding than your average storage container. We looked at artificial intelligence and thought, what's the worst that could happen? Drex finally found his voice. What had happened with your artificial intelligence experiments? We're still finding out, Marcus said cheerfully. But so far, they seem mostly friendly. Mostly. The observation deck's warning systems suddenly activated. Below, on the training grounds, something had gone wrong. A combat drone, one of the Academy's training units, had malfunctioned and was now firing live ammunition at a cluster of cadets from various species. Security protocols were activating, force fields were deploying, and instructors were rushing toward the situation. Marcus moved before anyone could stop him. He didn't run toward the nearest emergency exit or the protected bunker. He ran toward the window, grabbed a ceremonial Corthani battle staff from the wall display, and without hesitation, smashed through the reinforced glass. Cadet Webb, stop! Vrel's shout was lost in the chaos. But Marcus was already gone, falling 3 stories toward the training ground, the morning light catching on the glass fragments that fell with him like deadly rain. He tucked into a roll that should have shattered every bone in his body, came up running, and charged directly at the malfunctioning drone. The drone swiveled toward him, weapons hot and ready. Marcus didn't slow down. He threw the battle staff like a javelin, and when it struck the drone's sensor array, he was already sliding beneath its firing arc, grabbing a fallen training weapon, and jamming it into the exposed power coupling with such force that the entire unit exploded in a shower of sparks and molten metal. 3 seconds. The entire engagement lasted 3 seconds. Marcus stood up, brushing debris from his uniform, and looked back up at the shattered observation window, where 3 of the galaxy's finest military commanders stood in absolute silence. Then he raised his hand in a casual salute and called out loud enough for his voice to carry. "Sir, I believe I just demonstrated what Earth breeds. Do I pass?" Vrel's 12 stalks all pointed at the humans standing in the smoking wreckage below. When he finally spoke, his translator carried a tone that might have been respect, might have been fear, or might have been both. "Cadet Webb, report to medical for evaluation. Then report to my office." He paused, his stalks quivering slightly. "Welcome to the Stellar Defense Initiative." Marcus grinned, blood trickling from a cut above his eye that he seemed not to notice. "Thank you, sir. When do we start the fun stuff?" Fask's exoskeleton flickered through a rapid series of colors before settling on deep purple, which indicated she was experiencing an emotion her species had no word for. "Lieutenant Drex, update the cadet training protocols. We're going to need new safety regulations." "What kind, General?" "The kind that account for humans." She watched as Marcus helped injured cadets to their feet, moving with practiced efficiency despite his own injuries. "May the stars have mercy on whatever enemy we point them at." Below, Marcus laughed, the sound carrying across the training ground like a promise and a warning all at once. The Academy had just learned what humanity had known for millennia. The most dangerous warriors aren't born in paradise. They're forged in the fire of a world that never stopped trying to kill them, refined by 10,000 years of creative violence, and tempered by the simple philosophy that if something needs doing, you do it, consequences be damned. They asked why Earth breeds no warriors. The answer was simple. Earth breeds nothing but